pointers about what you can do if you are being bullied by workmates or friends or family.
Yeah, so Faye, when somebody gets bullied, is it a one-off thing or is it a continual thing? What's the actual definition of being bullied?
Well, actually, the legal definition is repeated unreasonable behaviour directed at someone that creates a risk to their health and safety. So a one-off, aggressive act could be an assault or inappropriate and definitely could be misconduct in the workplace. But the very nature of bullying is that it is insidious and it's repeated, and quite often it's nebulous. So people can't quite pinpoint the one point in time when, their world crumbled, but it's just been a series of events that have sort of eroded their esteem or caused them to feel really uncomfortable in their workplace.
So I guess the thing is that I've probably bullied somebody then without even knowing it.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because that would kind of happen. I mean, a person would accidentally or unknowingly bully someone, and then maybe somebody comes back and says, you're bullying me or whatever it was, and they go, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Because sometimes in a workplace, in a tense environment, people do get a little bit, not aggressive, but they do get a bit sort of, confrontational, let's say.
Yeah, there are certainly certain personality types that are more prone to be bullies, and there are certainly other people that are more prone to be victims. And,
it's not just men.
Not just men, no. But there's generational issues. You alluded to the 70s before, and the fact that, the workplace was a bit more robust, and people did, there was harsher criticism, or it was, a bit more confrontational when there was performance issues or other, disputes in the workplace. I mean, we are now dealing with an intergenerational shift. We've got, millennials going to be 75% of the workforce by 2020, and they are the can't say no to generation, or the generation that have been given ribbons for coming 9th and 10th place in competition, so that every child wins a prize. So when there is and not to criticise them, it's just it's the system that has brought them up that way. So naturally, when they get into the workplace and someone does have to try and have a difficult conversation with them to indicate that their performance is inadequate, or that something is inappropriate, sometimes they may find it more confronting than someone from another generation may have.
It's interesting. It's interesting though, Faye, because when I started work, which would have been sort of mid-70s, I was in a work that was kind of creatively driven, so you're either in art or music or radio or television, so that was very much dog eat dog. But I'm sure that also there was situations where people were in the armed services or the fire brigade or the police or the this, that or the other, and in those days it's like, if you're getting bullied, then you don't chirp up about it because it's not the done thing. Do you think that still exists to a degree?
Look, it does, and these issues take a long time. To transform a culture of a workplace or of an industry, it takes decades. And positive action to do that. But you've seen, the police forces and the our armed forces, the Navy. There's been public apologies and commissions of inquiry and findings of reports that have indicated that these things have been occurring for many, many years, and it has been systemic. But what they're trying to do is change that workplace culture, and not just change the culture in terms of the perpetrators. It's the people that are being affected by it standing up to the perpetrators or following the channels to make the complaint, but also the bystanders. So there's a whole heap of literature now around bystanders and even the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons. We look at the health profession and how systemic the bullying and sexual harassment is in that profession.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's all about standing up and actually not allowing the conduct to occur around you, because in the words of General Morrison, standard you walk past is a standard you accept.
Yeah.
So, the thing is that if you think that somebody is bullying you, and I know you're a lawyer, you're not a psychologist, you're a lawyer, so you kind of see them at the end of the road in terms of, that's the, person of last resort to go to a lawyer, I guess. But if somebody is bullying you, what is the best course of action? What should you do?
Well, most organisations now have quite comprehensive grievance procedures that say, if you can approach your manager about it, then approach your manager. Naturally, if it is your manager, then you go to the HR team, assuming, of course, they're not also implicated in the complaint. HR teams, and they tend to be my clients, I tend to work more with the organisations in, addressing these issues and training them to deal with them. They will usually have a very comprehensive grievance process that they will follow. They will investigate the complaint. They will offer the employee assistance. So most organisations now have employee assistance programs, which is basically confidential counselling services that the employees can access. So while you're following the formal procedure internally to make the complaint and to, talk to HR and provide your statement, you've also got someone behind the scenes that you can confidentially debrief with, and they make sure that, from a mental health perspective, that you are coping and, will escalate you in terms of the level of health care that's required.
Now, Faye, you're a lawyer, as John was just saying. Lawyers bully each other, do you think?
They certainly do. Unfortunately, we're one of the professions that actually we were trailblazing in that we were the first of the professions to have compulsory training sessions in order to renew your practicing certificate.
Really?
You need to have training sessions that I've been running for many years now about bullying, discrimination and harassment in the workplace, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and unless you get your compulsory point ticked off, then you can't renew your practicing certificate. Just once every 3 years. But RACS is doing the same now. The Royal Australian College of Surgeons
that's good.
Is finally introducing something that's similar.
What do you think? It's interesting though, because I work with a lot of women in my job at Channel 10, and it's interesting to see who are the ones who have the most complaints about them, whether it's a man boss or a woman boss or fellow workers and colleagues and things, whether it be television, radio, or any kind of business. Do you think that it's always the man, or do you think the women also bully other women, or is there any
I prefer not to attach gender stereotypes to this.
That was a trick question.
It's not a gender stereotype, but it's definitely a personality type.
Okay.
What I often talk about is the untouchable manager, that high-flying sales professional, the talented surgeon, that stockbroker that's got it going on. They're returning their, they're meeting their targets or exceeding expectations day in, day out, and they think they're untouchable.
Yeah, they got
John. That's you, John. She's describing you, John. John Vidler.
Well, I actually had your profile up on the internet as I was mentioning.
Oh, it's all happening, isn't it? So, what is the profile of a typical bully in your? Is there a particular type of person? I mean, you just said that people who have been successful and clearly have got a big ego or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but
there's an ego.
But is that pretty much the profile of somebody you can expect who would be a bully, or
that's what manifests on the outside. Yeah, no, that's what manifests on the outside. What you have, behind that. I mean, for many years, I'm not a psychologist, but just from investigating so many of these over the years, it's really talented people. They're perfectionistic. They really want to exceed expectations. They demand the best from themselves and therefore expect the best from everybody else around them, which means they take no passengers. They become increasingly frustrated if people aren't living up to their standards. But there's also, sometimes there's even insecurity issues that you kind of scratch the surface, and there's this huge inflated ego, and, underneath that it's an insecurity because you find, certain people just need to bring others down in order to make themselves feel good, and that's an unfortunate character trait.
So I would say, if I thought of someone who has a potential bullying personality that I may have seen today, I'm thinking Donald Trump. I saw Donald Trump on television earlier, and he would naturally fall into the potential bully. But then I guess Hillary Clinton could be a bit of a bully sometimes as well.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I sometimes see some politicians being bullying towards journalists, and the other way around. Or you see journalists being, they're not only just going for the question or the answer.
Answer the question. Will you answer the question?
That's probably more of a subtle form of it, but it does go on in everyday life. And I guess it's just reining it in. And if you're at work, I feel very sorry for people who are at work and the psychological damage that must be. Because when you go to work, you don't go to work for that sort of stuff. You go to work, you know, and to earn an income and do the best you possibly can. But when there's this other thing on the side, it makes life miserable. I'm sure there's lots of people out there who are miserable going to work.
Yeah, it demoralises people because, and also the dysfunction perpetuates. It creates a real negative workplace culture, which is really unproductive. You know, the statistics and the research says people just don't go to work just to make money. It's about connection with their peers. It's that sense of achievement. So a lot of these things erode people's confidence, erode that satisfaction that they get from the job, which means it decreases their productivity, which means everybody loses because how can you have a high performance team or a positive workplace culture where people, where there's a breeding ground for, fear and mistrust and people feeling generally insecure and uncomfortable.
Exactly. I think we need to talk to Faye again privately. I think you should talk to John separately from me, and then I will come. We'll have a John Coleman session, a John Coleman session. What do you say?
Mediate.
Yeah, mediate. Can you wear one of those United Nations like blue berets?
Hold on. Do you feel comfortable approaching him in a room?
No. Not even
we'll need to caucus.
Not even in a car park.
Because I mean, we're not sitting in the same room now, Faye. I mean, he's about a kilometre away from me.
I'm in Melbourne.
That's right. Because of the issues.
Usually people are braver from a distance. I mean, you only need to look at social media and the amount of trolling we're seeing. People are much braver behind a keyboard.
Yeah, I can't be keyboard warriors. I can't believe what some people say to other people on social media. I have to think, do you reckon you'd say that to their face?